Let's jump into this first story. All right, we got this from Timcast.com. Biden administration says air near derailed train and controlled chemical burn is safe amid concerns of water contamination. As soon as I read that headline, I could hear Luke Rudkowski screaming at the top of his lungs all the way from Florida. Ah! Because, as you know, they said the air was safe to breathe on 9/11, which it absolutely was not. And so the reason, in my opinion, they would tell you the air is safe to breathe is because they want you to go work to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. Hey, look, I get it. You got a problem. If nobody wants to go and work to put the fire out and stop the chemical spill, then it keeps getting worse. But you're not going to convince someone to go do it if you tell them the truth about how toxic the air is. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources reports the 3,500 fish in the area have died since the derailment. Photos of actually, I think I have a photo right here. Is this, do I have the photo? Okay, here's the radius. Oh, God. Wall Street Silver says the cloud radius of the chemical burn in Ohio is huge. Yep, we're in it. Because most of you know we're in we're in Western Maryland, West Virginia. So we're absolutely getting hit by this. And I think we have a picture of this. This is Spike Cohen. Yeah. He says, I am infinitely more concerned with the raging chemical fire in East Palestine. Is it East Palestine? Is that what it is?
East Palestine, Ohio.
Oh, wow. Than I am with the NORAD playing whack-a-mole with balloons. You know, I'm deeply concerned about this toxic plume of chemical gas and particulates.
This is the controlled burn. They did this on purpose.
Are you for real?
I'm being totally serious. Because initially this train, it's got 100 cars, 100 plus, and 50 of them derailed. And they caught fire, and a half mile of this town was just on fire.
Whoa.
And then they were like, well, it turns out we've got a lot of chemicals on here, and so we need to do something about that, or else they'll pressurize and explode, and we'll send shrapnel everywhere. So the best thing we can do is have a controlled burn. This is interesting because how can the Environmental Protection Agency tell you the air is clean when they haven't released the full list of chemicals that were on board these cars? They also, one of them, I believe it's vinyl chloride, can settle on surfaces and you have to clean it because it's colorless. You don't know it's there unless you test for it.
You know, it's funny hearing the story after Joe Biden just talked about toxic burn pits in the State of the Union address, you know, and his son and cancer and all that stuff. And it's just like, this sounds like it's a lot worse than that.
This sounds really, really bad.
But don't worry, they lifted the evacuation order, so everyone should go back to their houses here.
What is that map you're looking at? Is that the water table?
Yeah, so I have a picture of the Ohio River Basin Aquifer, and so I find this really interesting. So you showed the radius of basically as the air flows, but this is as water travels through the Ohio River, which a couple different cities are starting to pick up that there are actually chemicals in the water there. It flows basically from Pennsylvania through West Virginia all the way through Tennessee and Kentucky. This is interesting to me. I'm not going to go conspiracy here, but this is a region I have been introduced to as Pennsyltucky, which overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump. It also has a lot of poverty and not a lot of great health care. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting that as the water becomes contaminated, it's in this specific region of the country. Again, coincidental, it's where the train derailed, but...
Well, it's just, it's giving me Flint, Michigan vibes.
It's giving me Flint, Michigan and CDC vibes too.
Yeah.
You know, like this, if the
you mean just government lying to you about safety in general?
Exactly.
Vibes?
Well, there's also people kids are taking a TikTok that live in the area, and they're saying that FEMA hasn't showed up, that basically people are displaced, and that they have no food and no resources. The Red Cross has not shown up, and that the churches and the restaurants are feeding the refugees of East Palestine, Ohio.
We have this very low res photo of the water basin, the Ohio River water. The good news is, we're right here, so our drinking water is okay. But that wind, so the accident's right up here. The wind is all pouring right over us. We are smack dab right on the right side, eastern side of this thing.
And we don't. And there's only one chemical listed that they know of.
They've released 4 at this point, but they haven't released a complete list.
Oh, okay.
Well, Newsweek says full list of toxic chemicals released from the Ohio train derailment. So
this is after I published that.
What is this? Phosgene used during World War I. What is this?
Phosgene,
The chemicals were diverted into a trench and burnt off. Officials warned, however, that it would send toxic gases phosgene, used during World War I, and hydrogen chloride into the atmosphere. Environmental regulators have been monitoring the air and drinking water on the site of the derailment and have so far said both remain unaffected by the spill. Yeah, I don't believe them.
How can that be true when the water...
The fish are all dead?
Yeah, the fish are dead, and the water management of Cincinnati...
There are dead birds everywhere, too.
Right.
There are dead ravens.
birds?
Yeah. There's people reporting there's like the birds that just
No, nothing to see here, buddy. Everything's fine.
Well, and also,
No
if it's safe, my thing is, if it's safe, why isn't Biden visiting? Why isn't Kamala visiting? Right?
What was-
Every time we have a natural disaster, one of
fact
these
that
two
there's
people
no
walk through.
the fact that there's no significant reaction from the government blows my mind.
They
It
don't
doesn't
want to
blow my
talk
mind
about
at all.
it.
What do you mean?
I'm surprised. They're usually at least trying to get in and have. I mean, they're arresting the press, right?
Yeah, a journalist, the reporter got arrested for yelling.
I mean, they're trying to cut. They're trying to do everything they can to keep it quiet. Usually, they would. I imagine they would try to get people on the ground to do the keeping of quiet.
I
At least send
disagree
one
that,
cabinet member,
that
right?
feels more like a movie response.
Maybe.
Like we watch movies and the government comes in with FEMA and all that stuff, but in reality, we learn about the corroding pipes in Flint and literally nothing happens for 5 years or whatever. They're just like, oh, geez, would you look at that? And then nothing happens.
I feel like the stuff with Flint and the stuff that's going on in Alabama, those are municipal problems. Those are problems that the local governments failed to provide for their constituents.
Yeah, I guess this would be like Buttigieg jurisdiction, right? Interstate commerce and transport.
Absolutely, it would fall to the transportation department.
It was Buttigieg, huh?
I haven't heard him comment on it at all.
We get President Biden and he tells us we're going to get a Buttigieg. We all say okay, and then what, huh?
He's too busy.
Train blows up.
He's too busy, giving his feeding his new baby. I mean, he's taking time off so they can be new dads.
I could be wrong here, right? But I haven't even seen a Biden. Our prayers are with the people of East Palestine who are affected by this. I haven't seen anything.
Nothing.
I mean, that's pretty cold, isn't it? To just say like this chemical train is derailed and we're going to burn it and you guys just hang tight and we'll see what happens. I mean, it is the lack of response should tell everyone in Ohio what the Biden administration thinks of their safety right now.
We have 2 super chats. One says, I live 10 minutes away from it and it's not great, but not catastrophic. And someone else said, boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, very bad. 1,001 ratio. So, we'll put it in the middle. We'll say it's like moderately catastrophic, but not apocalyptic.
There was a fire chief in the area who responded to this, and he said everyone should go to the doctor and get a record of their health right now because it's the question of the long-term effects, right?
Wow.
So maybe you're okay, you can go back to your house, but if you develop cancer or liver cancer specifically, or leukemia or some of the other things, then you need to be able to look back and say, was this because, did I have markers already or was this because of what I was exposed to?
Okay, so here we have a list from Newsweek of what contaminated the air, soil, and water surrounding the crash sites. Vinyl chloride, a colorless gas that is used to make polyvinyl chloride, PVC. It's what we use for plumbing. Plastics, and it's highly flammable. Really? I didn't know that. And decomposes to make toxic fumes. Okay, didn't know that either. According to the National Library of Medicine, it is also carcinogenic and can cause other health issues.
Shocker.
Butyl acrylate, a clear liquid that is used for making paints, sealants, and adhesives. It is flammable and can cause skin, eye, and respiratory irritation. Ethyl hexyl acrylate, a colorless liquid used to make paints and plastics. It also causes skin and respiratory irritation, and under moderate heat can produce a hazardous vapor. And ethylene glycol monobutyl, a colorless liquid used in the solvent for paints and inks, as well as some dry cleaning solutions. It is classed as acutely toxic, able to cause serious or permanent injury, highly flammable. Vapors can irritate the eyes and nose, and ingestion can cause headaches and vomiting. And I'm pretty sure ethylene glycol is antifreeze. And yeah. So I don't know what monobutyl means, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to ingest or inhale anything related to antifreeze. Although I guess technically propylene glycol is an antifreezing agent they use. We used to use those on the airplanes back at O'Hare. And, they say it's fine, but I would not recommend. We got crazy stories in the airport. One guy told a story about how a guy in a cherry picker, you drive around in these trucks with a big hose that would spray propylene glycol. And he once saw his buddy and he was like, hey, and he yelled at him and blasted him with this fire hose of this orange goo.
Why do women live longer? We just don't know.
Yeah, no, the answers elude us, the men doing the science and research. But so it sounds like antifreeze is it can blast it up into the air too. So, that's.
Wait, what happened to the guy who got blasted?
He was fine. I mean, I don't know. It's been 20 years. Maybe he's got cancer.
I'm like hanging on. I'm like, what happened to him?
Nothing.
And he
got
going?
drenched and then got angry and yelled at his buddy.
Okay, all right. Well.
I thought that was good. You get when you're up in the cherry picker de-icing these planes, you spray it down with a 50-50 solution that's propylene glycol water and it's hot and orange.
Okay.
This melts the ice and stops it from instantly refreezing. Then you switch to a denser propylene glycol, which is green, which is stays on it until it can take off, and then the wings heat up, making it so that ice can't form. So they say it's fine, but when you pull that lever on the hose, there's a cloud of propylene glycol covering your whole body as the jet, because it's not just like.
Do you have to wear a face mask or anything when you
I mean, usually
apply?
when you're doing it, it's very cold, windy, and snowing, so you don't have to wear a mask, but you get covered in this stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
they claim propylene's fine, and the interesting thing is, I think they put it in food. Like you'll if you go to the gas station and buy muffins, because everyone knows gas station muffins are the epitome of quality, you might see propylene glycol listed in the ingredients.
Is it just preservative or something?
I guess it simulates moisture.
Simulates moisture.
Yeah, so like
Fun.
you look, when you make a cupcake and it comes out and it's like gooey and moist.
Yeah.
But you leave it out for a little while, it gets hard. And, they mix in some of this antifreeze, and then it
And it never freezes.
It stays gooey for a long time.
Or decomposes.
I mean, if
you leave it
I don't
on
know
your
what it does.
Then you
windowsill for
eat it,
3
it goes through your
years.
gut. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, to be frank, after this conversation, the substance doesn't sound terrifying anymore. At least,
Yeah.
if you put it in muffins, that's fine. But
I don't know,
Yeah,
bro.
but
There's
come on,
there's
dude.
plenty of
Like,
other stuff that's
a lot of
burning.
bad stuff in muffins.
They used to drink mercury.
in America. Yeah.
Also, just because they put it in the muffins doesn't mean they should, right?
No, but I don't feel like I'm gonna get cancer from that particular.
Maybe.
that.
I mean, people are getting cancer, and
Well,
we
it's
don't
also
know.
the digestion versus inhalation, right? Like,
Yeah.
think about asthma and emphysema. This could cause lung burn. Like, there's so many.
Listen, I'm not pro chemicals in the air or anything. That's not the position that I was taking.
just one muffin and Phil switched the sides.
He's like, it's all gonna
Fat
be
kid
okay.
inside.
Like,
me,
oh,
the
no,
fat
you
kid
know what?
inside.
It's fine. Fuck it.
I mean, I get it. Like one muffin, maybe you're gonna be okay. But if you eat them regularly, if you eat them and it's also in all your other food, I mean,
If you smear them on
volume-
yourself and light yourself on
and it's
fire
also in your
with them.
shampoo, and it's
Sure.
also in all this other stuff. Like, I think that's the hard thing about being a consumer in America. We don't really know all of the stuff that gets put into our food that then we eat.
Well, the
There's no way to
FDA
calculate
doesn't
it.
do their job anymore, right? Like, I just got back from Europe in November. I went for 5 weeks, and we've been traveling all over the world forever. There's a difference of quality in the food in America now than there is in Europe, because they actually. You have to have food. You can't have food-like products. There's even regular things like Oreos or Chips Ahoy or regular snacks. If you compare the list of what is allowed in America in the food versus what's allowed in Europe, it's vastly
It's different.
different.
People are pointing out that propylene glycol is vape liquid, and I looked it up real quick, and
okay.
and the Wikipedia actually explains de-icing, which is cool to read because it's literally what I did 20 years ago. Man, it's been 18 years. And I think it's funny that people are like, it's just vape fluid. We inhale that stuff. And I'm like, bro, that's airplane antifreeze. And
Also,
maybe it's not
Yeah.
toxic, and that's what they're saying. They use it because it's a non-toxic alternative.
People smoke angel dust too, and it's like a cigarette dipped in formaldehyde. Like, good luck.
Yeah. So
People do a lot of things.
Like, vaping's not good for you. But what if you vaped everything you'd ever vape in one breath and then get to continue living in your town, right? Like, a little bit of something over a long period of time is one thing. A massive amount of something for days on end is very different.
It's one
I don't
thing.
know.
It's one
Maybe
thing to
it's safe.
vape, and then it's another thing to vape continuously
To never
every
breathe.
breath
Yeah.
for
there's-
2 months.
There's a difference between, if you work construction and you run an air hammer and you break concrete versus being in 9/11, right? It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like, there's not, your body can't take the impact. Yeah.
And I think it's the transparency that concerns me, right? So we're hearing the air is fine, don't worry about it. And then we're starting to hear, the water over here is not so great. The water over here might have some questions. But the fish are dead.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.